Hello and welcome to Mountain Aromatics. Today I wanted to go over how some, like in some formulas, when you are making them into the final fragrance, meaning adding your perfumer's alcohol, some people are saying they have cloudiness. That can be from a few things, and I wanted to go over that today. So, one thing can be materials can do that. When I say materials, I am talking about synthetics, like Isui Super is a material that's synthetic. Essential oils, things like absolutes, CO2s, things like that. Those are materials. So I'll give you one example. For me is benzyl cinnamate stays pretty cloudy. So it is actually in its 100% state, it is a white solid. Let me just get it. It's right here anyway. So it's just a white solid, and you can probably see it with this black background. So it's at 100%. So I always, to make it easier to use, instead of having to heat it up every single time, making it at a 50%, 50, this is at 50% and I still have to heat it up. But even when I do, I will show you, I've used it, and not very much, in a formula to make a base. So this is a base formula, not top, middle, note, top, middle, and bass note, but a base, like an accord or a bass. And this, it little slides all the way to the bottom, and then I shake it up before I use it, and it's cloudy. That is benzyl cinnamate. It does that. And when I put it in a further formulation, diluted more, it typically will not be, it's not going to be this cloudy, but it still can bring some cloudiness. Another thing is, there are people who use, in making perfumed alcoholic perfumes. So I deal mostly in alcoholic perfumes. Where I don't deal with alcoholic perfumes are fragrance oils for making soap, like hard soap, and liquid soap. But anyway, so I have like a fragrance oil here. Well, some people use fragrance oils in their, I don't, but in their formulations for fragrance. That will make it go cloudy. That it can easily, probably the number one reason, if you have a fragrance that you're making a final fragrance and it is going cloudy, and you're using fragrance oils in part of your formula, that is one reason. Another, probably the biggest reason, and it happens for me, I just don't care if they're really cloudy or not, but is using tinctures. And so when I've done multiple videos on tinctures. When you make a tincture for perfumery, you typically are using, I use two things. It's either perfumer's alcohol, or that I'm tincturing the materials in, or I am using a vodka to tincture in. Well, the vodka has some water, so there's sometimes that you'll want to use water. It's a whole nother subject. There are times you want to use vodka because it has some water in it in tincturing. Because just like when you are making tea, you're using water and it's extracting. So water extracts and alcohol extracts. They extract different molecules out and that kind of thing. So that's sometimes why you want to do that depending on what you're tincturing. That's not our issue today, or that's not what I'm going to deal with today. But I don't know why. I don't really understand why, because some of my tinctures will go cloudy as soon as I put them in a formula and then add my perfumer's alcohol to them, like to make a final fragrance. It will go cloudy. And it's, for me, it's typically a tincture where that will happen. I don't know why. It's not all of my tinctures, it's a number of them. And they just do that. And they will be clear when I use them. This is a tincture. This is orris root tincture. This is juniper berry tincture. You can see it's a little bit cloudy. But that is a typical reason, if you have that happen, why your final fragrance is cloudy. The other reason that it could be is that, so I'll give you a whole nother example, and that's what I have here. And this is frankincense, boswellia, from Sudan. And I put it in avocado oil with vitamin E, and I let that sit for a really long time, and that's a different way of extracting different molecules out of. It's like it pulls the fat out of the resin. They powder it down, and you can use frankincense in that way, and hence I did. And then I filtered it, and so this is an fragranced oil. Like, this is actually for the skin, but you can, if I put this in my formula is going to end up being cloudy because it's an oil. Let me just show you. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all it's going to take. 5 drops of my frankincense boswellia. And I'm going to add some perfumer's alcohol to it. I added, I don't know, a ml. And I'm going to shake it. It goes cloudy. But that only makes sense. It will dissolve out. Dissolve out is not the correct word. It will disperse. But over time, depending on how much alcohol I put in there, it's going to settle down to the bottom, much like the benzyl cinnamate does. After a while, it settles down to the bottom, and I have to just shake it. But when there's just a couple of directions I could go here. So if I just added more alcohol, and this perfumer's alcohol is the 200, so it's pure alcohol, and that will allow it to be a little bit less cloudy and disperse more evenly. But if you have more of like the oil, bottom line is The more perfumous alcohol you use, like at 25% eau de parfum or parfum, that is going to be less cloudy. All I can tell you is that the number one way it happens for me is through tinctures. So just giving you like 3 or 4 different ways that this cloudiness can happen. For me, it mostly happens with tinctures. I never use oils like fragrance oils or the oils I've created for skincare. I don't add those to make fragrance, like perfumery. I don't work with oils like that. I just don't. That's not what they're for. They're for other things. And but I still can get a little bit of cloudiness, and you can put it through a filter. And I will show you right now. I am filtering, this actually happens to be a tincture of Turkish rose, and I am filtering it. It is, I think it was tinctured for 3 years before I just did this filter, and I did this filter a few hours ago, but I made a video of it to stick in here right now so you can see what my filtration system looks like. But you can do that, and that will help with the cloudiness as well. But if you are using the 200 perfumers alcohol, it is highly likely, I mean, you're not going to get cloudiness if you're not using tinctures. You're not going to get cloudiness if you, I mean, the benzyl cinnamate is used at such a low level that in the final product, in a final fragrance, even with this benzyl cinnamate, in my final product, I don't get cloudiness. And I don't use enough tincture in a formula that in the final product it ends up being cloudiness. That's going to be an issue with, adding water. Like some people at the end, they will use like 5% water or something like that. That can absolutely cause cloudiness. Or using vodka or that kind of thing. But it's pretty rare that you're going to get a final fragrance where it's just cloudy using perfumers alcohol. It's a really high grade. I get mine from creating perfumes, and I have never had an issue, and I have over 200 videos and have a ton of materials, and it doesn't happen. But there are people who, if you're going to use a fragrance oil with your perfumery, you're going to get cloudiness. If you use other types of oils, like fractionated coconut oil or anything like that, you're going to get cloudiness in it. And if you use a lot of tinctures, there are some tinctures that cloud more than others, and that happens, but it usually it's never enough that it happens in a final fragrance. And if it does, and you want it to be absolutely super clear, put it through a filter. I hope that helps. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a good day.